Pune, a city pulsing with life, a tapestry of tradition and modernity. But, in the blink of an eye, a horrifying incident pierced the heart of this vibrant city. A speeding Porsche, a symbol of affluence and power, became an instrument of devastation. A life was lost, a family shattered, the driver, a teenager, barely old enough to grasp the weight of his actions. He stood before the juvenile justice system, a system designed to rehabilitate, not punish. This tragedy sparked a firestorm of debate, throwing a harsh spotlight on the very foundations of juvenile justice. Was it a system that offered a second chance or a shield that allowed the privileged to escape true accountability? The questions reverberated through the city, through living rooms and courtrooms alike. The answers, however, remained elusive, tangled in a web of legal complexities and moral dilemmas. This case is not just a legal battle. It's a story about trauma and loss, about the fragility of life and the enduring power of human choices. It's a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about our society, about the disparities that exist, and the ways in which we grapple with justice. It's a story that demands our attention, our empathy, and our willingness to engage in difficult conversations. We must delve into the heart of this case, peeling back the layers of emotion and legal jargon to understand its true implications. We must listen to the voices of the grieving, the outraged, and the conflicted, and in doing so, perhaps we can begin to unravel the knotted threads of this tragic tale and shed light on the path towards a more just and equitable future. It was a night like any other in Pune. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and the rhythmic hum of city life. But on this seemingly ordinary night, a deafening roar shattered the peace. A sleek silver Porsche, its engine screaming defiance, hurtled down the street, its speed a middle finger to the rules of the road. Behind the wheel, a 17-year-old boy, his senses perhaps clouded by youthful bravado or a reckless disregard for human life, pushed the car to its limits. The consequences were instant and irreversible. The Porsche, transformed into a lethal weapon, collided with a pedestrian, a man simply going about his evening. The impact was catastrophic. The life of the victim, a father, a husband, a son, was extinguished in a flash of metal and glass. His dreams, his future, his very existence, snuffed out by the reckless actions of another. News of the tragedy spread like wildfire through the city. Shock, grief, and anger rippled through the streets, leaving a trail of raw emotion in its wake. The victim's family, their world shattered, grappled with the unimaginable pain of their loss. The community, stunned by the senselessness of the act, demanded justice. The city, once a haven of peace, was now a stage for a legal drama that would test the very core of its justice system. The driver, a minor, was apprehended. He stood accused of vehicular manslaughter, his fate now resting in the hands of the juvenile justice system. This system, designed to rehabilitate and reintegrate young offenders, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, its every principle and precedent scrutinized under the harsh glare of public scrutiny. The case, however, was far from simple. Whispers of doubt began to circulate, fueled by the undeniable specter of the driver's affluent background. His family, prominent and wealthy, had the means to assemble a formidable legal team, a team adept at navigating the intricacies of the law. The whispers grew louder, evolving into a chorus of suspicion. Was the juvenile justice system designed to protect and rehabilitate, being manipulated to shield the privileged? The public watched with a wary eye, their trust in the system wavering. Was this a case of true justice or a carefully orchestrated charade? The questions gnawed at the collective conscience of the city, casting a long shadow over the proceedings. The legal experts, armed with their interpretations of the law, offered their analyses dissecting the nuances of the case. Their voices, though authoritative, did little to quell the unease that had settled over the city. Social media platforms became battlegrounds for impassioned debates. Some argued vehemently for the driver's rehabilitation, emphasizing his youth and the potential for redemption. Others, fueled by the raw pain of the victim's family and a deep sense of injustice, demanded a harsher punishment, one that reflected the gravity of the crime. The city was divided, its faith in the justice system hanging precariously in the balance. This case, a tragedy born of recklessness and fueled by societal anxieties, became a crucible in which the very principles of juvenile justice were tested. It forced Pune, a city known for its progressive spirit, to confront uncomfortable truths about its own internal divisions, its own biases, and its own struggle to reconcile the ideals of justice with the realities of a complex and often imperfect world. The courtroom became a stage for a high-stakes drama, each hearing drawing a crowd of curious onlookers and anxious reporters. The victim's family, their faces etched with grief and a yearning for justice, sat stoically, their presence a constant reminder of the human cost of the tragedy. The driver, a young man now burdened with the weight of his actions, stood before the judge, his fate hanging in the balance. The prosecution, armed with evidence and driven by a sense of duty to the victim, argued for a punishment that reflected the severity of the crime. They painted a picture of recklessness, of a disregard for human life, and the devastating consequences of such actions. The defense, employing a strategy carefully crafted to highlight the driver's youth and potential for rehabilitation, appealed for leniency. They spoke of remorse, of a future that could be salvaged, of a life that could still contribute to society. The courtroom became a microcosm of the divided city. The arguments resonated with different segments of the public, fueling the ongoing debate. Some saw the prosecution's stance as a righteous pursuit of justice, a necessary response to a horrific crime. Others, swayed by the defense's pleas for compassion and rehabilitation, saw the driver as a young man deserving of a second chance. The media, hungry for a captivating narrative, amplified the drama, their coverage further polarizing public opinion. Every legal maneuver, every expert testimony, every emotional outburst from the victim's family was dissected and analyzed, feeding the insatiable appetite for information. The case, once a local tragedy, became a national spectacle, a symbol of the ongoing struggle to define the boundaries of justice, especially when it involved young offenders.